Hello and welcome. We continue with our discussion on business English communication. Today's topic is how to make effective presentations. Effective business presentations. You might recall in the previous lectures, we covered various types of business writing, and we also discussed some useful vocabulary, grammar, of course. Grammar is always there on top of our priorities. We also discussed a few idioms and phrases for specific situations. Today's lecture, we focus on how to make effective business presentations. I'll give you some tips on how to make good presentations along with developing your reading as well as your grammar and vocabulary. So please do understand that while we focus on the key topic of the day, grammar, vocabulary, understanding of the strategies of communication and language activities, they won't be sacrificed at the altar of what we are doing for the day. So everything goes hand in hand. So coming back to the topic of the day, effective business presentation, we'll try to understand how to make structured presentations, engage with this audience, and how to tackle questions. This is important. Above all, how to speak and organize content logically. Keywords, of course, for today: business presentation, communicating with audience, and tackling or handling questions. Before we move on, I would like you to look at this particular slide, and this is a warm-up exercise for you, strategies of communication. I want you to match the responses with the statements. Look at the slide and I'll read it out for you. First, left-hand column, and the column and the phrases on the right. So first I'll start with the left. I would like to make an appointment. Now you have to tell us which expression from the right hand column goes well with this. I would like to make an appointment. Next, second, I am afraid it can't take place on Monday. Third, could we possibly meet on Tuesday or Saturday? Last, has the new desk clerk joined? Your responses, possible responses that you have to align with the expressions or with the statements or questions given in the left hand column. A, no, it didn't work out. B, Saturday would be perfectly fine. C, what a mess her office was in. D, he's expected to do so tomorrow. E, I'll put you through our engineer. F, when would you like to have our next appointment? G, you have been cancelling too many appointments. H, the meeting turned out to be a fiasco. I, would Friday be okay? And your answers are: 1, the first one goes with I. I would like to make an appointment. The response, would Friday be okay? Second, I'm afraid we can't meet on Monday. G, the answer is G. You have been cancelling too many appointments. 3, could we possibly meet on Thursday or Saturday? B, answer is B. Saturday would be perfectly fine. So we don't just say that, yeah, okay. We have to make a proper sentence because we are not in an informal situation. We are not talking to our best friend, but we are speaking to someone who is a potential client, a customer, or perhaps a manager or boss. So therefore, the response has to commensurate with the position, with the situation. So therefore, we don't say just okay, yeah, whatever. It has to come more coherently and better worded, more politely. Last one, has the new accountant joined? D. He is expected to do so tomorrow. We move on to the topic now, business presentations. Now, remember, in an age where artificial intelligence can generate presentation scripts, polished slides, and even presentation scripts, polished slides, and even give feedback, what sets presenters apart is the way they make or they present themselves. When you are there, out there, audiences still want a real person. Okay, AI generated material is okay, and sometimes we hear those disembodied voices or avatars speaking to us. All that is fine, but there's a large section of audience or your client or customers or your consumers out there who still want a real person to speak to them. They want to connect to a human being, in other words, so that they can trust what's being said and the way it is being said. The presence is, like it or not, the most strategic communication skill, especially in business situations. See, remember that AI cannot always explain how or why it arrived at a particular conclusion. It's not possible. So therefore, trust building is extremely important in business situations. And one has to confirm that content is generated by a human, and then that takes a new level of importance and significance and trust. Now, business presentations, therefore, they have become an important emblem or gesture of trust in communicating, especially making a connection with a human. So there is a currency attached to it. And this kind of trust, this currency is crucial to build effective environment and strategies of communication in various business scenarios. Always remember that business presentations are goal oriented, so they are not just casual chit chat. They are required to inform and to persuade and to recommend and to report. It's not just, in other words, you may be glib and you may you may be a very fluent speaker. You can joke, you can work the audience. All that is fine, but at the end of the day, business presentations are goal oriented. Something has to come out of it. You have to inform. Information has to be shared effectively, and it's not entertainment or working the room or holding attention. Remember, effective business presentations, they work on clarity, brevity, and professionalism. So you don't have to go on and on and on and bore people with your personal anecdotes if they are not connected with the scenario or the situations. Last but not least, always respect your audience's time. Now, some common business scenarios include client briefings or project updates. So, this focuses on summarizing and updating on projects, perhaps the risks that company wants to take, and next steps for various stakeholders. Another scenario is sales pitch, which aims to persuade client by listing product benefits, sharing data, clarifying value additions to customers and shareholders, and then internal meetings. So internal meetings require concise communication and updates to support a number of decision making requirements. So a broad structure of a presentation would be when you sit and make your presentation. So work on the opening, how to develop the body, that is the main the center, the heart of your presentation, and then conclusion. So opening is introduction of the topic, the purpose and relevance, so the audience they know why they should listen. Body, it is to develop a few, let's say 2 or 3 main points using examples, data, etc. And conclusion, summarize. You should always give a summary and don't end your presentation abruptly. अचानक ख़त्म करने से अगर आप ख़त्म करेंगे अपना लेक्चर या प्रेजेंटेशन तो लोग अचरज में पड़ जाएंगे कि हुआ क्या है. सो देयरफॉर इट इज़ वेरी इम्पॉर्टेंट दैट you conclude and summarize the key ideas discussed in your presentations. The summarization and takeaway points are extremely important. If the opening is, let's say, the goal of this presentation is to propose a new onboarding process for new employees, then the body should relate to the introduction. So yeah, here, you have to explain problems in the current system, and next you go on to introduce the proposed solution. And third, highlight the advantages of the new proposal, the new plan, the new ideas you are putting forward. Conclusion, of course, take away key points, summarize, etc. and recommend introducing your plan for the next quarter. While making your presentation, it is always good to start with a few signposting phrases. Some signposting phrases, they take you from one point to other. So when you say, when you greet your audience, and when you start with your introduction, it is good to say, let me begin with. So it helps open. Let's start with it. So these phrases, they are signposting that the presentation is now seriously starting. It helps open the presentation. Another important or useful phrase could be moving on to, or let's move on to, we move on to. So these are signposts that tell the audience, that inform the audience that we are moving through the different sections of the presentation. And when you want to guide them towards the end of your presentation, so it is always good to say, to summarize, to end it with, etc. So prepare your listeners or your audiences for the conclusion that finally is going to end. You need to ensure that your audiences, they retain and they recall your ideas. It shouldn't be touch and go, that after your presentation or even while you're talking, people don't remember, because you see, we live in times of extremely short attention span. People are forever checking their messages and phones and etc., and you can't control every variable in the room. So therefore, you have to ensure that you are able to capture the audience's attention in a way that they can retain and recall your ideas. So always tell the audience what you're going to say so they know what to expect. Develop the idea. Idea itself should be clearly and logically developed, focusing on key points. And when you conclude, tell them the takeaways of what you said, reinforcing the main message. Some common flaws or the logical flaws is that Uh, there could be, uh, you know, audiences don't understand what is being done here and what is being talked about here. Now we come to effective design of your slides. Slides should support the speaker by highlighting key points, not replace a spoken explanation. So therefore, they should be precise and they should be to the point. The font should be consistent. Uh, create a professional and more authentic kind of impression there. Use concise bullet points or numbers to emphasize key ideas. Use charts or graphs over tables when presenting numerical data, and use graphs and bold colors selectively. Always avoid long paragraphs. Do not clutter. Audiences cannot read and listen if we are talking about retention and recall. So remember, audiences cannot read whatever. If you fill up or clutter your slides with too much of information or uh, small size print and font and graphs and numbers, audiences won't be able to read and they won't be able to recall. So you have to make them read, and also they have, there a number of faculties should be, or cognitive skills should be at work. They should be able to read and listen and process and understand. So all these things should go simultaneously, not one at a time. Not one at a time. Avoid overt use of animations, and always avoid reading only from the slides. Okay, the slide should be used to give you a cue or a prompt, but they should not be, it shouldn't appear as if you don't know anything except whatever is given in the PPT, and you can only read from their slides. So, how not to prepare a slide? Look at this example. Read the slide. During the second quarter, the organization experienced a noticeable and encouraging improvement in its overall financial performance, with total revenue showing an increase of approximately 12% when compared to the previous reporting period. At the same time, considerable efforts were made to review, streamline, and optimize internal expenditure, which resulted in a reduction in operating costs by roughly 5%. This combination of rising income and improved cost management contributed positively to the company's financial position. A closer examination of the factors behind this growth indicates that the primary driver was the successful acquisition of new clients whose onboarding and early engagement played a significant role in boosting revenue during the quarter, rather than growth being driven mainly by existing accounts or one-off factors. Now tell me, what's wrong with this slide? Perfectly written paragraph, lots of information, very good language. So why do you think that this is not the way to prepare a slide? And you know the answer, because while making a presentation, one has to rely on decluttering and talking to the audience rather than making them read something. Uh, uh, in other words, clutter a slide with too much of information, lengthy sentences, long paragraphs. So they are not here to read. They can always read reports at their own convenience. What they are here for is to listen to you. So talk to them. So an improved slide would be in bullet points, where all the information that the previous slide gave you, or the slide that I just showed you gave you or provided you, it should be given in bullet points or in number form. So they can talk about the increase in the Q2 revenue, the quarterly, second quarter review increase, and reduction of operational costs, and growth driven primarily by new client acquisition. That is one of the key points, highlights of that passage. So you focus on that subheadings and then give numbers, bullet points, etc. But never ever clutter your presentation slides, and please always avoid reading it straight from the presentation slides. And some people even stand with their back to the audiences. Do not do that. Engagement matters, remember. So engaged audiences are more attentive, and there is a better retention and recall value when audiences are more engaged. Remember, increased interaction, it builds credibility and confidence both with clients and within the workplace. And if you make effective presentations, then of course it is always good for your company, but better for you also, because you will be asked to make another round of presentations. Your manager or your boss will trust you more, and you will be appreciated. You will be a valued member of your organization, which in turn would lead to more opportunities, better opportunities. So आपकी संभावनाएं बढ़ेंगी अगर आप अच्छी तरह बात करेंगे और अपना प्रेजेंटेशन इफ़ेक्टिव तरीके से बनाएंगे. Engagement techniques include and how to make this. Now we were talking about the recall value, the audiences, how to make them recall or retain information. It is always good to keep on asking questions. Sometimes even ask rhetorical questions to involve listeners, to help them engage. Do not give lengthy anecdotes, lengthy boring anecdotes and tired jokes and cliches. Do not do that, but it's better to give short example, preferably from real life scenario that has some value for the audience and where they can relate to their own experience. And do not read in a very monotonous way. Do not speak in very mechanical, drone-like way. Try to vary your tone and your pace and give some kind of variation, bring some kind of variation to the way you speak. Let me give you an example now, an exercise where you have to rephrase the statement into an engaging audience question. So look at this slide. Email miscommunication causes delays in projects. Email miscommunication causes delays in projects. What are you supposed to do? Rephrase the statement into an engaging audience question. Possible responses could be, how many times has an unclear email slowed down one of your projects? So this is a question. You are trying to engage the audience. I've given you a scenario that can be turned into a question. So there is always a situation. Turn it into a short question. So in order to elicit response, what does it do? अगर आप सवाल पूछेंगे अपने audiences से और तो उसका result क्या है? उसका the consequence of that is that they are more engaged with you. Okay, they feel like they are actually participating actively and they are not just there as passive listeners. Another way of framing question for that statement could be, how much time do you think we lose to misinterpreted emails during a project? Or what percentage of project delays would you attribute to email miscommunication? So here it's a good way to engage, or even start a conversation. By conversation, I mean your presentation. Try to achieve clarity. When you make a presentation, quantify wherever possible by including numbers. After all, it's business. It's not creative writing, and it's not um, mm, uh, let's say uh, some kind of an aesthetic or literary kind of writing. You want uh, facts to be shared. So therefore, quantify by including numbers. Focus on results, and don't put or don't include too much of uh, information about um, how the process of getting that information was accessed or gathered. And keep the titles concise. Again, remember, this is not creative, this is not literary or not a literary activity, it's business specific. So titles should be concise, typically no more than a couple of words. Remove all the unnecessary filler words. So don't go into sentences and sentences just by titles. Always try to maintain balance between narrative and conciseness. So sharing stories, they help humanize what we are trying to accomplish. But also remember, um, sometimes the people get excited by their own stories. So we assume that every detail is necessary to. So the idea is to keep your conversation brief. Don't go on and on narrating your personal anecdotes and stories or even success stories. Time again is of essence here. So be precise and concise. At the same time, be human enough to engage the audiences or whoever is sitting in front of you, so that they are there. Okay, you capture their attention enough so as to help them recall and retain what you're telling them. The space for AI in creating presentation. I'm going to share a very good article that I recently came across on how AI is helping in creating presentations. Look at the slide here. Expert presenters first need a clear strategic message that invents big future narratives for their audience, whether that's their own organization, outsiders, or something in between. Without imagination, strategy would be uninspired and stall out. Second, a communicator needs creative judgment and the ability to frame and shape meaning that resonates. This is the difference between craft and AI, the difference between a moment that sparks resonance and just a grammatical, concise statement. Finally, empathy. When the presenter can sense what's unspoken and adapt in real time isn't a nice to have. It's a superpower. It can't be outsourced to AI, not in a pitch, not in a crisis, and not in a moment that matters. So, there is a space for AI, but one has to remember these ideas also, these issues also. So, just to bring to your attention. Now, going on to creating charts in presentation. Charts are important. All of us know that. In business presentations, charts are extremely important. Help in backing up findings in business presentations. They should be used well. They should be woven in effectively, judiciously, to give you an element of credibility. So, this is extremely important. Charts use colors with that has some meaning, and not just because you like the color. Let's say you like the color purple very much, but don't use it unless and until there is some you're color coding some information. And avoid excessively grid lines and elements. Again, the same problem. Do not clutter your slides. Always make the most important issue or most important data to stand out. Another common error is having too many charts and messages on a single slide. Remember the one message per slide rule. Now let's move on to talk about how to tackle questions or handling questions. A good presenter, a good orator or speaker always welcomes questions. Okay, so that's important. So, but sometimes questions can be uncomfortable. Of course, we all expect that questions should be directly relevant and related to our presentation, but sometimes they can be uncomfortable. Maybe because you weren't prepared well. Of course, that can happen to the best of us. But perhaps someone is trying to bait you. Okay, and maybe the audience, one of the members of the audience, they are using a kind of a tone or language that you are not too comfortable with. You need to keep your calm and handle the questions efficiently. Acknowledge the question, okay, however uncomfortable it may be. Clarify it. Structure your answer. Always answer directly. Look the person in the eye and give your response. Sometimes you can give a hypothetical or partial answer in case you are not too confident about it. So even partial answer is something. Something is better than nothing. If you don't know anything about it, then always better to be honest about it. So decline politely. If you don't want to answer or if you don't have the answer, decline, but be polite. It's a public space. Therefore, the rule of politeness has to be observed. Always invite dialogues and confirm understanding. Invite a follow-up question also and end the response politely. Some phrases could be, "That's a good question. Thanks for raising it. I'm glad you asked that. That's an important point. That's a fair concern." So that's one way of acknowledging. You clarify the question. Could you clarify what you mean by, are you asking about this or that? If I understand correctly, you are asking. So you need to clarify. Sometimes we may not understand the question. Could you be a bit more specific? Okay, those are the ways in which you can clarify the answer. Structuring an answer, let me think about that. I need a moment. There are different ways to look at this. Okay, so let me answer. Yeah, I'll take some time. I'll answer you in 3 parts. Let me start with the broader picture, etc. So those are the ways in which you structure your answer. Answer directly, look at the person and tell them the key point here is, the main reason here is, at its core, this comes down to, etc., etc. Okay, so don't beat around the bush, be direct. Sometimes you may give a partial answer where you do not have the exact response, but you can always, because you are a good communicator, you see, not a good fibber, you're not lying here, but you have to be smart. So always give a partial answer, such as, it depends on the context. That may be true in some cases, but not all. It varies depending on something. There isn't a single answer to that. So those are partial. You are answering at the same time. You are also uh, um, evading it in a way. Sometimes that is also needed. You decline politely but again, you have to be polite. That's the key term here. So one could say that's beyond the scope of today's conversation or discussion. You can also say that's something I need to look into. You can also say I can follow up on that later and I'll get back to you. So I don't have enough data to answer that at the moment, but I can always revert to you. So those are the ways that one can respond. Um, you tackle a challenge. So you can always say that's a valid concern. See, the key word here, or again, let me reiterate, you are in a public domain, public space, and this is a professional situation. So people may try to rile you, provoke you, but you need to keep your cool. So, if you feel that someone is trying to get a reaction, so it's always better to say, well, that's a valid concern, but remember your tone. You don't start shouting and screaming and using harsh words. But it's, yeah, see, all this comes with training and background and professionalism. Let me address that criticism directly. That's one way of saying it. Um, I agree with some of what you are saying. However, I have to differ also. There are some ways of tackling questions where the member of the audience is it's very clear that they are trying to provoke you. Always invite questions, dialogue. For example, you can use an expression like, did I answer? Did I respond to you? Does that answer your question? Would you like me to expand on that? Let me know if you want more examples. Would you want me to go into details? So what are you doing? You're confirming understanding. And how to end the response? So to sum up, that's the long and short of it. Coming to the end of it. Okay, I hope that clarifies things. And one way could be we can come back to this if needed. Okay, this is how you end the response. Yeah, so if we move on and talk about, so I hope so far whatever we have learned, it has been of some um, use to you, how to make a good presentation. So this is what we have been talking about, how to make a presentation, how to what are the ways in which you can organize your slides, and how to tackle questions from the audience. So keep on revising these things, and of course, unless and until you go to the arena yourself, uh, all this is a lot of talk. But while you are making a presentation, do bear all these points in mind, and I am very sure it would be of use or value to you while you're making a presentation. Okay. Remember to keep your cool. Remember not to read too much from the slides. Remember not to clutter your slides. Make sure that you're prepared well and you handle questions well. So in the last section now of this today's class, today's lecture, I would like you to do or practice some reading. So let me draw your attention to this passage. You read the following and answer the questions that follow. Let's look at the slide here. Hotel industry in India has witnessed tremendous boom in recent years. Hotel industry is inextricably linked to the tourism industry, and the growth in the Indian tourism industry has fueled the growth of Indian hotel industry. The thriving economy and increased business opportunities in India have acted as a boon for Indian hotel industry. The arrival of low-cost airlines, and the associated price wars have given domestic tourists a host of options. The Incredible India Destination campaign and the recently launched Atithi Devo Bhava campaign have also helped in the growth of domestic and international tourism and consequently the hotel industry. Next slide. In recent years, government has taken several steps to boost travel and tourism, which have benefited hotel industry in India. These include the abolishment of the inland air travel tax of 15%, reduction in excise duty on aviation turbine fuel to 8%, and removal of a number of restrictions on outbound chartered flights, including those relating to frequency and size of aircraft. The government's recent decision to treat convention centers as part of core infrastructure, allowing the government to provide critical funding for the large capital investment that may be required, has also fueled the demand for hotel rooms. Next slide. The opening up of the aviation industry in India has exciting opportunities for the hotel industry as it relies on airlines to transport 80% of international arrivals. The government's decision to substantially upgrade 28 regional airports in smaller towns and privatization and expansion of Delhi and Mumbai airport will improve the business prospects of hotel industry in India. Substantial investments in tourism infrastructure are essential for Indian hotel industry to achieve its potential. The upgrading of national highways connecting various parts of India has opened new avenues for the development of budget hotels in India. Next slide. According to a report, hotel industry in India currently has supply of so many rooms and there is a shortage of 1,50,000 rooms, fueling hotel room rates across India. According to estimates, demand is going to exceed supply by at least 100% over the next 2 years. 5-star hotels in metro cities allot same room more than once a day to different guests, receiving almost 24-hour rates from both guests against 6 to 8 hours usage. With demand-supply disparity, hotel rates in India are likely to rise by 25% annually and occupancy by 80% over the next 2 years. This will affect the competitiveness of India as a cost-effective tourist destination. Next slide. To overcome this shortage, Indian hotel industry is adding about 60,000 quality rooms currently in different stages of planning and development, which should be ready by 2012. Hotel industry in India is also set to get a fillip with Delhi hosting 2010 Commonwealth Games. Government has approved 300 hotel projects, nearly half of which are in the luxury range. The future scenario of Indian hotel industry looks extremely rosy. It is expected that the budget and mid-market hotel segment will witness huge growth and expansion, while the luxury segment will continue to perform extremely well over the next few years. Let's look at the questions here. What are the causes for a boom in tourism industry in India? What is Incredible India? What role does the aviation industry play in developing tourism? And describe the measures taken by the government to boost tourism in India. So, we are not talking about general knowledge. Remember, this is a course in business communication. The passage may be a bit old, but the idea is not to test your general knowledge here, but how you are able to respond to a passage. You can have a similar kind of a passage which is related or relevant to 2025 or 2026 also. We are in 2026 maybe today, and if you are watching this video a couple of years later, we will be moving on. So the idea is you should be able to relate to the passage, relate in the sense, engage with the passage and understand what is being asked, Answer to the point, be very precise and concise in your responses. And yeah, so try to do this, try to read this lengthy passage at your own convenience, try to solve these answers. This is not something that I want you to submit to me, and this is not definitely for your marks and your grades. This is just to help you develop your uh, ability to comprehend passages. See, remember, you are going to appear for a number of exams, competitive exams. So you can always expect such kind of information and data driven passage coming your way. And then how would you respond to that? Perhaps by using the MCQ approach, or by writing short answers, or sometimes even an essay. So keep on adding to your vocabulary. Identify all the relevant words that you have seen or you come across occasionally in passages like these, and then keep asking you, keep training your mind, keep training your brain how to uh, sort of extract the precise information and put it on paper. I have a couple of readings for you, recommended readings. This is not for, don't worry, it has got nothing to do with your exams, etc. But take a look, and if you want to read more business related and presentation related articles, here is an additional kind of suggested reading for you. I have given you a couple of links. Take a look at that. I have also used some passages from these websites. So thanks a lot for joining. We'll meet again for the next class. Bye-bye.